Hi, I'm Lori Betts. Welcome to Golden Years. This month I have Mary Lavelle. She is a long-term care specialist, and Marsha Pappalardo from Homestead Insurance. Come on back. We're going to tell you some valuable information you need to know.
Trust me, I'm a doctor.
Trust me, I'm a lawyer.
Trust me, I'm a contractor.
Trust me, I'm a car thief.
It's not always easy knowing who's the good guy and who's the bad guy, especially when it comes to insurance fraud. But know this, if someone wants you to get involved in something because
The insurance companies can afford it.
don't walk away, run. Insurance fraud is a crime and everyone pays for it, especially the ones who get caught. If you suspect insurance fraud, call us at 1-800-TEL-NICB.
Welcome back. I have Mary Lavelle and Marsha with us today, and we're going to talk to you about insurance. What kind of insurance? Mary, I want to know, you hear commercials, you see advertisements, you see people talking about long-term insurance. What is it? What is it all about? And why is it a need?
Well, let's start with what is long-term care. First and foremost, long-term care is the kind of care you're going to need when you can no longer take care of yourself. This would be a situation where you can no longer move about because you've had hip replacements and you just can't get in and out of the chair. You might need help with bathing, or maybe you have arthritis and you need help getting the buttons closed on your clothes. That's typically what a number of individuals experience as they age. Another form of long-term care is cognitive impairment. This would be a situation where you require supervision so you don't harm yourself or others. Alzheimer's would be a perfect example of this, but also other forms of dementia and depression where you might need the supervision.
And right now, I'm sure my audience is thinking, I have Medicare, I'm covered. Well, let me tell you, a lot of things are happening in the Medicare world, and they're not covering everything you assume that is covered.
That's correct. Medicare really addresses your acute care needs. An example of that would be if you break your arm, you go to the hospital, they're going to fix the arm, put it in a cast, you heal, the bone heals. Everything's covered under Medicare, even the physical therapy. Medicare.
Short term, though.
Short term.
Correct.
Medicare most likely will pick it up. However, if you do that same, the arm breaks, the bone doesn't heal properly. You lose the use of the hand or the arm. Medicare will take care of you up until the point where it's determined that you're not going to improve. Medicare stops, that's where long-term care requirements would step in.
Okay, so like at what age should people really get serious about investing in long-term?
That's a good question. Long-term care planning should be part of the retirement planning that individuals do normally. What we see are folks from age 55 through 65 are the group that predominantly plan for long-term care. And that would be the purchase of a long-term care insurance policy or having an in-depth conversation with how their funds can be set up to pay for long-term care.
And every plan is different, or what the needs are, or?
Every plan is different, depending upon the needs of the individual. Individuals need different types of plan arrangements than couples. Couples, if they do have a long-term care event, they're going to remain in the home for as long as possible, where a single individual may not be able to do that because they don't have the infrastructure for friends and family to come in nights and weekends and take care of them. So each planning is different, policies are different, the resources of the couple or the individual, it all plays into it.
And Marsha, I've known you for years, and we are involved in SeniorNet. And when you stand up and you introduce yourself, you always say, because we do go to our breakfast meetings at all these beautiful assisted livings, and you always say, folks, if you want to live in a beautiful place like this, you better plan now.
Absolutely.
Start your future now.
Absolutely. And we are very blessed here in Medina County of having so many wonderful assisted livings that people can choose from. And you and I have joked about what's the downside of it. If we can go there now and we can live, they're going to cook, they're going to clean, they're going to do our laundry, we can keep our car. What's bad about that? People today need to realize, like we know, assisted living is not a nursing home. And if you have loved ones or you yourself are up in age, you can certainly go visit these places. Call, make an appointment, and have lunch there. Eat with the other residents. See how they're treating their residents. Are they being treated with dignity? Are they being treated just like you would treat your family members? And then if you take mom or dad there now, when the need comes, mom or dad are already going to feel comfortable because they know where they want to live out their final years if they can't live at home. But long-term care also gives you the option of possibly staying at home. And we all want to stay in our home if we can. But if you don't have long-term care insurance, that might not even be an option for you. And I did bring a copy of the source, which I know you've talked about on your show before. But those folks that...
The Senior Bible.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything is in here that a senior could possibly need. And I truly feel, and you live in Medina County too, don't you, Mary?
Yes, I do.
We are in the best county to grow old in because we have so much to offer. But for those that aren't aware of all the various places here in the county, if you pick up the source and you have them, Lori, at your store at GTBM Pro Road, you can pick this up and look up all of the various places, where they're located, call, make an appointment, and go visit them.
I think one of the other issues of assisted living for aging adults, whether they have a need for long-term care, as I described earlier, but it's the community as well. They're in this safe environment. You know nothing is going to happen to them. If they do need emergency care, the response is immediate. But in the community, perhaps someone living alone is not functioning on all cylinders, so to speak. But if they enter one of these arrangements, they're going to improve. Now, they're going to still be chronically ill and still have the ailments that they have, but their environment is going to be much more supportive. Aging can be a dignified process, especially today with all of the facilities that we do have available.
And you meet friends.
Absolutely.
They play cards. They have social events.
Right,
Activities.
Entertainment comes in.
Yeah.
Well, and so often, especially with the winters that we have here, a lot of our older adults get stuck in their homes.
Yes.
With nothing more than a television. And they just don't have the opportunity to get out and go socialize like they might in the summertime. But your assisted livings, their friends can come there. If they can't drive
Families
any
can come for
longer,
dinner.
the friends can come and pick them up so you can still belong to your church groups, your bowling league, your golf league, whatever.
And several of them take you to churches too.
Right.
So they have the bus runs.
Right.
And they've gone to casinos. I've been to facilities walking in, they're jumping on the bus.
Yes,
That's
they
right.
have all
So, I mean,
kind of
life goes
outings
on.
and plans and actually things that maybe they wouldn't even have that opportunity if they weren't living in one of those facilities.
exactly.
So people need to look into it. We need to put aside that old nursing home that you had from the 50s and that's what you visualize, what you saw on TV or in a movie, because it's changed so much today.
So when you sit down and talk to an individual, they call you up and they say, okay, what is long-term, like fees? Is it a schedule? How do you fit the right menu for an individual? Is it all according to the age and in case their budget can't afford X amount? Are there different, what do I want to say, levels?
You can devise a plan for
Cafeteria
anything.
plan?
Sort of.
Sort of. You can pick and choose what you want. What is recommended is comprehensive coverage. That will take care of any care need, whether it be at home, assisted living, adult daycare, skilled nursing, or hospice facility. That I would recommend. Now, you can, within your plan, say, well, I'd like 75% of benefit available to me, of the benefit available to me at home. And I want 50% at the assisted living facility and then I want the full 100% of the benefit available at the skilled nursing. You can do that. But what we're finding is that the expenses can be incurred at home, and you don't want to pick a plan that's not going to provide you with enough protection. We don't want you dipping in your pocket and having to pay if we can design a plan that's going to adequately protect you.
Are you locked into a year, or can you make changes throughout that level?
Unfortunately, no. Once you design a plan, it's going to be what you have available for your long-term care needs. You can include inflation riders that your benefit will grow over time, and there are several options that include that. But if you 10 years down the road decided you needed more coverage, you would have to make a different application and be approved all over again. So you can't just add on.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And you have to look at your finances. Mm-hmm. What can you afford? What's your budget look like? And can you afford long-term care insurance? Because some people cannot, and that would not be suitable for them to buy it.
So you guys as specialists will sit down and you'll say, okay, can I suggest this?
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
And if you had this amount of coverage with this deductible, whatever, this is what the cost would be. The other thing I've often suggested too to seniors when I'm talking to them, and sometimes it's not, maybe they're even $50 a month short on what they really would like to have, okay? But I often say to them, have you talked to your children? Are they aware that you're even looking at long-term care? Because, you know, for birthdays, for Christmas, I'll tell young people, talk to your parents. If they don't need another knick-knack, you know, pay for their long-term care insurance for a month for them.
That's
Something
a very good
like
idea.
that.
Right.
Very good.
Because ultimately, if your parents don't have long-term care insurance, who's going to pay for that? No one wants their parents in a home because they're on welfare. Mm-hmm. They want them where they're going to be proud when their family, friends go to visit.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Definitely.
So who's going to pick up the difference in the tab? The children are.
And you made a very good point earlier. We all have insurance. We have car insurance, home insurance. Mm-hmm. We might never need that.
Nor do we want to use it.
Exactly.
Really.
Exactly.
But I look at long-term care insurance not so much as insurance as my independence. I want to be able to decide where I want to spend my final days if I can't be at home. And if I can be at home, it's going to help cover those costs too. So it's a win-win. You know, we all hope that we're going to go very peacefully in our sleep and not have any illness beforehand and not need any care. But in reality, as we grow older, that's probably not going to happen. Mm-hmm. So we need to think ahead. And so many people I talk to today, they'll tell me, oh, my son will take care of me, or my daughter will. Oh, really? And what does your son do? Oh, he's this big executive. And where does he live? Oh, out in Colorado. And what does his wife do? Oh, she's got this wonderful job. I said, which one of them is going to quit their job to care for you? And they look at me like I have two heads. Mm-hmm. Because they never thought about that, or the inconvenience that they might putting on their children.
They assume.
Yeah, and we're not living in the days of the Waltons anymore, where mom and dad and grandma and grandpa and everybody lives together, and mom's always home and takes care of the rest of the family. So we need to think ahead and not make it something that's out of urgency. Mom's coming home and she can't go home alone. What are we going to do with her?
All right, we are going to take a quick break, and then we are going to come right back. So join us.
Lee Major, did you get your flu vaccine yet?
With the flu season coming up, we all have to help protect ourselves by getting the flu vaccine. If you're over 65 like me, you gotta even be more careful.
Our immune system may not be as strong as it used to be, so we have to do everything we can to keep the flu from catching up with us.
So ask about your vaccine options, because if you're a tough guy like me, you may need a tough vaccine.
Visit the National Council on Aging at ncoa.org/flu to learn more about vaccine options for people 65 and older.
You're watching The Bat.
great day.
You too. Let's celebrate. Want to grab some beer?
No, I can't. Alcohol and medications do not mix, especially pain medications. That's worse.
That's terrible. Why?
Well, as you age, alcohol and medications have a greater risk on you and a more harmful impact. I learned this from a website.
Where can I learn more?
Well, you can go to www.hands-foundation.org or call 330-225-4242.
Welcome back. I'm Lori from Golden Years, and I am interviewing Marsha and Mary about long-term insurance. You gave us a lot of valuable information, and so I want to make sure my viewers understand what it is all about. Is there a checklist or something that they could go to say, okay, do I need this, or I'm just going to put it in the back of my mind? Where do they go from here? How do they know to contact the right person to say, are you going to help me through this, or do you just want my money?
Absolutely.
Well, I think that would be
ahead.
where the DVD and workbook from Kiplinger
Right.
would come in.
And if they contact me and they'll put my number up, I'll be more than happy to mail that to them. Let them work through that themselves or with their family. I think it's so important to make sure if you have children or your spouse that you're all involved. Let them know what you're looking at and why, and discuss that. And then you can see if it's a need for you or you don't think it's a need for you.
Right, the DVD is going to walk the individuals through what the long-term care need and planning process is all about. The workbook will provide them with just a budget which they can establish their own budget, understand how much a care event would cost them. There's also several websites, and those are for additional information on the topic. These are all available to us from the state of Ohio, the federal government, the National Association of Insurance Commissioners, to provide education about long-term care at home settings.
And they're user-friendly, they're understandable?
Very user-friendly.
Okay.
But if there are any questions or any confusion, that's where Marsha or myself could help them out.
Okay. Because it is a decision, and we are living longer, and we don't know what's ahead.
Right, and you have to look at your family. Everybody's genetics are different. And if you know in your family you do have dementia, Alzheimer's, early stage heart attacks perhaps, that you're going to know you're going to need care, you're almost 100% sure at some point you might need care, it's even more important to be looking into it now while you're healthy and vibrant.
And it's a goal you're looking for in the future. Because you don't know. Like
That's
I said,
right.
you don't know what's ahead.
That's right.
I don't know.
None of us do, unfortunately.
Okay, what would you like to leave my viewers so they understand, you know, how important this is for themselves to look into?
Well, I think it's just like anything else. You know, you could rebuild your home if it burns down or if it's hit with a tornado. But isn't it much less expensive to have the homeowner's insurance and then you're not hit with this $100,000 claim or $200,000 claim, whatever it comes out to be at the time, that you have to put out of your pocket? And when you think over the years of what you've spent, you know that it was money well put. So you need to think about that for your future. What is it going to cost you every month if you need to have someone come in and help you in your home, or have someone, you know, that you have to go to an assisted living, and offset that with what would it cost you then if you devised a plan with long-term care? But each one is individual, so it is something that with this workbook, you'll be able to sit down and look at what's it going to cost me. And as we showed you the source earlier, you can check with these facilities where you want to go and find out exactly what the costs are. Thinking ahead, though, that if you're 60, hopefully you're not going to need it for a number of years. Prices are going to go up, so you want to look at that too, unfortunately. Your pension may not. And so you need to look at everything. How much do you have coming in every month? So how much, everybody's different. We can't just say one size fits all. And that's why this is something you design yourself.
Okay, and do they work with Veterans Administration too? If the person's covered by veteran monies?
Those are the kind of things we have them look into, see where your monies are going to come from.
Okay.
You know, just like you do your pension and know how much your pension is or how much your Social Security is. Do you have veterans benefits that are going to help? But you need to find that out ahead of time, not wait until you go into a facility and assume you have these benefits.
Yeah. Because a lot of people wait for the 11th hour.
Absolutely, absolutely. And if the viewers are going to pursue long-term care, they need to definitely work with a specialist. Even if they are working with their own insurance agent or advisor, that individual has to have access to a specialist, because there are so many working parts of an insurance policy.
Could be overwhelming.
Oh, yeah.
It could be overwhelming, and you need to design something that really is a perfect fit for their situation right now. The size of the benefit, the total overall benefit. Benefits, for example, you have a pool of money. Let's say it's $100,000, and it's going to be payable should you need these services at $100 or $1,000 a month. Well, you need to know that once that pool of funds are exhausted, you need to plan for other resources or assets, income, to take care of those ongoing long-term care expenses. Most of the policies that would be purchased today are going to be reimbursements. And by that I mean it's kind of like your health insurance. You go and you receive a service, you are reimbursed by the insurance company. You're not getting the cash. You're going to have to submit bills. At the time of claim, maybe you're not capable of filing the claim, so you do need to involve family, your other professional advisors, attorneys, so they know how to access the claim information. And make sure that there is an understanding, even if it's a one-page instruction on top of that insurance policy. Call so-and-so. Make sure you look at this, this, and this. I've set up so many different resources for your convenience at this time. And you have it already put together. Then you need to review that. Some say annually. I don't know if that's reasonable, but at least once every 3 years. If you did include inflation, that benefit's going to increase. If you do have an elimination period or a deductible, be certain you understand how that works. Is it a calendar day, which for most of us is the easiest way to remember? If it's 90 days, it's 90 days. But many of the policies written are service days. So you actually have to receive a service on that one day in order for it to count. However, it has to be services received as defined in the policy, not your daughter, husband, wife taking care of you. Even though you did have those services, it has to be from a licensed home health care agency. So consumers need to be aware of what kind of policy they're designing, and going to be accepting.
Sounds involved. That's why you need specialists to walk you through it.
Exactly.
And to explain everything to you in layman's terms that you understand it.
Make it easy.
Absolutely.
Keep it easy. Keep it easy, but be thorough, be comprehensive. Examine the needs of the individual or the couple. Perhaps long-term care insurance isn't the right solution. Maybe it's life insurance that includes a chronic illness rider or a long-term care insurance rider. Maybe it's an annuity with a long-term care insurance feature. Maybe they're going to self-fund the long-term care. They still need to have the conversation so they are aware of what the steps are that they're going to have to take when the time comes.
Yeah, and being in the business for so many years, I mean, I have many kids coming into the store. They just get everything. They're so busy in their lives, all of a sudden their lives come to a halt. Mom and dad fall, or they are developed with some kind of injury. The kids get involved, and it's like, where do I go and what do I do?
Exactly. Many of the caregivers that are required not only to provide financial support for their parents, they also have to actually physically be present to provide that care, which means they're going to have to put a career on hold, maybe change a career, lose a job, cut their hours, move, maybe take a loss. Maybe take a loss on their property. And because you had mentioned their own lives, it does put a huge strain on their family and the needs of their family, because you're torn, you know.
You're juggling.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then last but certainly not least, the physical health and well-being of that caregiver, because you are caring for a very, well, it's very emotional. And it's very, very stressful. No one wants to learn of their loved one being impaired, and they do want to help, but it's kind of like, you know, taking a ride on a merry-go-round. Here they are at work, their career's moving along, all of a sudden there's a calamity. Mom needs care. They have to get off the merry-go-round, which they're allowed to do, but with the competitiveness of society and just the demands of every day, they don't know if they can get back on that merry-go-round. And when they do get back on, if they do, where are they going to be as far as their placement? So there's a lot of concern for not only the individual who has the need, but those around them. So good planning will help your loved ones. It will help you to execute all of your plans, because if there is a care need during retirement and it's going to disrupt what you had planned for retirement, because all of a sudden you have an extra $100,000 expense that you have to pay out. It's like setting up a second household. Are you prepared to do that? And if so, what happens to your quality of life, and how involved does it become in impacting the family? A little bit of planning, as Marsha said early on, is at least going to make you aware of what your options are. If there are funding vehicles you want to put into place, you have the time, you've got your health, you have the resources to make that happen, younger rather than older.
And even married couples cannot assume that the other one is going to take care of them. Are you, you know, you may not physically be able to lift your spouse and get them out of bed or bathe them or whatever. And if you're going to be paying for that, are you going to use all your savings? And then the spouse that, you know, if the one does pass away, the other one's left with nothing. And that's happened to many, many families. You know, so it's a lot to think about. You know, you really are, if you're married, you're protecting each other.
You're in it together.
You're in it together, and you're protecting each other. Absolutely. And children, we don't all have nurses and doctors in our families. They may not know how to care for you.
Or they might physically or mentally can't.
True. Oftentimes you've got parents taking care of younger people that have had a disability or an accident or something. So it's something that every family has to look at.
And every family dynamics is so different.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you, ladies, for joining us.
Well, thank you for having us. We appreciate it.
And viewers, you have a good month, and we'll see you next month.
I've got a job to do today.
I've got a job to do today.
Have a good first day at work, Mom.
Your donations to Goodwill fund job training programs right into your community.
Feels good to start fresh, right?
Sure does. And like that, you're a job creator.
Senior services are important to those of us who need them. But how do we learn what's available in Medina County?
The answer is already on your coffee table, and it's called The Source. This handy reference guide is the easiest way to find everything seniors and their families need. The Source is also available online at www.medinaseniorservices.org. So go straight to The Source and start living life to the fullest.